Hello there, my name is Preeti Vasudevan and I'm a choreographer, educator and a performer. I come from India and I specialize in a classical Indian dance form called Bharatanatyam. We tell stories through our eyes, through our hands, through our feet, with rhythms and expressions of the face that create characters for storytelling. Today, I'm here for a very special program. It is to introduce you to a beautiful sculpture that's sitting in your museum, the Uma sculpture, the beautiful languid sculpture that's just standing like that as you enter the main lobby of the museum. It comes from my state, Tamil Nadu, from the south of India, made through a very special technique called bronzing technique. It's a bronze technique made through different alloys, and the wax is put in, and then the metal is then poured in through the hollowness of the wax model, and then the bronze is created. This has been done for many hundreds of years. The artisans are famous. They go from generation to generation. They know the craft just by watching, learning from a very young age. Uma is also called Parvati. Uma means light, the one who bears light, the light that is thrown on you, the light that you are full of wonderment and of everything positive. And Uma is another name for Parvati. Parvati is the wife of Shiva. Shiva is one of the three gods in the Hindu pantheon. He is also the god of dance. He holds his hand to bless you and the other hand to show you the path to salvation. Now Shiva dances with his matted hair, with serpents around his neck, and he wears a tiger skin cloth around his waist, and he dances above the mountains in the northern hills on the mountains of Himalayas, the beautiful range where you have Mount Everest. He lives in a mountain called Mount Kailash, and with him lives his wife Parvati. We show Parvati with a hand like this in Indian dance. This is called kapittam, which means wood apple, right here, with a thumb and the first finger like this. This is shown by dancers and theatre people in the classical world as if a young woman is holding the stem of a flower by her chest. Therefore, her chest is very soft and she looks coyly. Now take a look at the sculpture. You will see Uma standing like this, slightly open hands, a little more stylistic, holding perhaps the stem of a flower. And her very languorous arm on the other side like this is called dola. Dola just means something dangling. And so one arm is dangling and the other arm is holding a flower. So there's a very casual look that Parvati, or Uma in this case, is showing you. She looks very complete within herself, very calm, very positive, and that is considered the quality of a perfect yogini, or a person who meditates and becomes an ascetic of a higher form. This means that she has amazing powers within her. And that is what Uma is about. So today, I'm going to tell you two stories in my dance language about Uma or Parvati. One is about how Parvati came to be and how she became Shiva's wife. We show wife like this, tying the wedding thread around the neck of a woman in Hindu rituals. The other story comes from where I come, from Tamil Nadu, of a very famous temple called the Meenakshi temple, in which the goddess Meenakshi lives, another avatar of Parvati, and how she conquered Shiva, her husband. And these are wonderful stories. We've grown up with children. However, the first story is first about how Parvati became Shiva's wife. A long time ago, Shiva was married to a beautiful woman called Sati. Now, Sati's father did not like Shiva. He thought, who is this man with dreaded locks and ash on his body, with snakes like coiling as if they were necklaces, and wearing a tiger skin cloth around himself? He doesn't look like a king or a prince. He should go away. How could he marry my daughter Sati? However, she wanted to marry him. And so they got married and they were very happy together. But one day, when Sati's father had a huge festival in his house, Sati wanted to go back to her family because she really missed her mother, her sisters, just everybody she knew. So she told Shiva, "May I please go and just meet my family and I will come back?" Shiva said, "Of course, please go. Please enjoy yourself and come back. I will always be here for you. You are my love." So Sati went all the way to her father's house, so happy that she was going to be reunited with them. Now there were many kings and princes standing in this entire festival, looking glorious in their jewelry and their finery. Sati went there and her father mocked her and said, "Oh, here she comes. Who is your husband after all? He is this man with dreadlocks and he has nothing in his life." And so he insulted him. Sati was so angry and so hurt that she decided that she couldn't live her life. It was so shameful that she self-immolated herself. She just burst into flames and became ash. Shiva, when he thought about his wife, he knew something was wrong. He went to her father's house and he saw what happened, and he could not believe his eyes that his wife was no more. So heartbroken was he that he gave up everything and he went deep into the forest to meditate, never to come out of meditation, for he was so hurt. Now, Sati was reborn as Parvati. To the great god of the Himalayas, the king called Himavan, and his wife Mena, and she was born as their daughter, Parvati. Now Parvati had only one thing in mind, that she wanted to marry Shiva and no one else. So she did deep penance and prayed that Shiva be her husband. And one day, when her penance was so deep, the earth started to tremor, the skies darkened, the heat started to come up, and all the gods were so scared of her penance that they pleaded, saying, "Oh, please, Parvati, please stop meditating like this." But Parvati said, "No, I will pray for Shiva." And then they had an idea. They went to Kama. Kama is our god of love who carries a bow and arrow, a bow made of sugarcane, and arrows made of a string of bees. And each arrow is the string of bees. Actually, each arrow is a flower that when it strikes you, it creates the feeling of love. So Kama was called and given a job to do. Said, "Oh Kama, when Parvati goes to Shiva and she gives him flowers, you will aim at Shiva and you will strike the arrow so that it will hit his heart and he will open his eyes and fall in love with Parvati. And then they can be united and we can be saved." So Kama said, of course, I'm the god of love. I can make Shiva or anybody fall in love." And so Shiva was meditating and Parvati walked gently with her flowers to Shiva to offer it to him. Shiva's eyes were still closed, but at that time, Kama took a deep look at Shiva, strung his arrow, pulled his bow, and let go. And that arrow hit Shiva's heart, and he opened his eyes. And he looked at Parvati and thought, "Oh, how beautiful she is. I want her for myself right now, and she shall be my wife." Then suddenly, Shiva realized he'd been tricked. And he immediately looked and spotted Kama, and with his third eye, he opened it, and out of it came fire and burned Kama to ashes. Have you ever wondered why we say love is blind? It's because you can't see it, can you? Now you know the story. Kama, the god of love, was burned to ashes. So we can't see him, except for his wife, who pleaded with Shiva, saying, "How could you do this? How can I live without my husband?" And he calmed down and he said, "Oh Rati, only you will be able to see Kama. Otherwise, he will always remain invisible. You will never know what love looks like." Eventually, all the gods went and pleaded to Shiva, and he looked at Parvati, felt he genuinely loved her, and they got married. Now that is one story of how Parvati became Shiva's wife. Parvati Uma. You will find many different sculptures where Uma sometimes sits on Shiva's lap as if she were a little child. And Uma's always next to Shiva, very languid, standing right next to him, very shy, and yet keeping this intense power of a deep meditator that she was, holding all the fires within, holding all the feminine energies and the power of creation, of fertility, of keeping families together, and of pure independent energy. Now for the second story. Meenakshi. Meenakshi means the one with the fish-shaped eyes. The fish-shaped eyes, or the fish-shaped eyes. This is how we show fish in my dance, and this is called Meenakshi. That's how we show her. A long time ago, a king in the south of India called Malayadwajan and his wife, Kanchana Devi, did not have a child. They needed a son to take over after king, to rule his kingdom. He was a kind king, but he needed his son. So they prayed a lot, and suddenly they were told by a voice to go and find a child lying not far away from their kingdom. So off they went, and instead of finding a small baby boy, they found a 3-year-old girl, a little girl. And they wondered how this might help them. And when they picked up the girl, they saw something stranger. She had 3 breasts. How unusual! Is this a bad omen? They wondered. Then suddenly they heard a voice from the heavens telling them, "No, treat her like a son and teach her how to fight and rule the kingdom, and she will bring you great fame." So they decided to take her, and they brought her up just like they would a son, taught her everything from the arts to the military crafts to statesmanship to the politics, and she grew up wise as a warrior woman, as a warrior princess. Malayadwajan made her the queen. She ruled very happily. She still had those 3 breasts. But there was a prophecy that the day she meets her husband, she would lose one of them and become just like a regular woman, carrying the inner energy inside of her. There was a big war that happened in which the great Lord Shiva came, and he waged a war with her. And Meenakshi looked at him and said, "Ha! You're going to fight with me? I'm going to fight with you." And she took her sword and she battled with him all over. But the moment she saw his face, she recognized who he was. He was Shiva, her husband, of many avatars. She was, after all, Parvati. The moment she recognized him, instantly her middle breast vanished, and she became a beautiful woman standing coyly in front of him, allowing him to take her as his wife. He knowing that she is his true power from within, his true Shakti, as we say, a true power. So Meenakshi, the fish-eyed goddess, another avatar of Parvati, married Shiva, the great destructor and regenerator of life. And every year in India, in her temple, there's a beautiful festival around the lake of the temple where The two idols of Shiva and Parvati are brought together in the water and they are married each year in great festivities celebrating how they met and how they got together. And this is something, a story, this is something that we all grow up with and we hear it from when we're very young. And through this, we are able to look at our sculptures, identify them. The hand held like this as a woman, the arm dangling, the beautiful look down, the beautiful crown being worn. She's got to be some sort of a princess. So this is Uma for you. Uma has been celebrated all over the subcontinent, from Nepal all the way to the south of India. And these are the stories that go with the goddesses of India, whether it is Durga, Parvati, Meenakshi, Ambika, Uma. They carry many different names, ultimately coming together as the female force and energy called Shakti. I hope you enjoyed this very much, and I hope you enjoyed the sculpture and you can see more into the sculpture through my storytelling. Thank you so much.